today by introducing ourselves. My name is Gracelyn Quessy. I'm the student recruitment specialist. I work in admissions and records, and we can pass it along to Missy. Do you want to go next?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. I'm Misty Killian. I'm a counselor here at the college. And if you haven't met one of us yet, you will meet us along the way. We're kind of here to help you plan your journey and make sure you've got what you need each semester to progress and ideally get into the nursing program.
Hi, and my name is Ann Brooke. I'm one of the nursing faculty. I teach first and second year nursing in the program, and I'm also a nursing coordinator.
So the most important thing we do want to share is that it's very important to get in touch with your IVCC counselor. So Missy, or one of our other lovely counselors, to discuss your educational timeline. The nursing program is a limited admissions program, which means that you're not guaranteed admissions, and there's some prerequisites that you'll have to complete, as well as some other requirements before you are deemed admissible and to the program. So make an appointment with one of our counselors. All the information here will be sent to you afterwards in some PDF formats, including some other information we'll be discussing later. So please just reach out if you have any questions along the way. We want to help you and make sure that you're prepared for the next steps. So nursing programs at IVCC, and can you guys all see my screen, hopefully? Yes, okay, I see some nods, so that's good. Nursing programs at IVCC. So we offer the associate's degree in nursing, which is the RN, as well as certificate in licensed practical nursing, which is our LPN. Both programs are limited admissions, as I mentioned, and students who have the minimum requirements are still not guaranteed admissions. It's based on a point system. So for just an overview, for fall of 2021, we admitted approximately 80 students. That'll be probably the same for next year. We currently accept about 60 RNs and 20 LPNs, and it's all subject to departmental review. So keep that in mind. We're going to go over how to apply and the different criteria. So the application period opened up last month, so November 10th, and it is open until February 10th. After that, the pre-nursing assessment, so that is the A2 or HESI exam, is going to be in April 2022. Documents, everything that you'll need to be assessed for the nursing program, everything's going to be due on May 19th, and the notification of whether or not you're admitted to the program will be May 2022. So usually the end of May, after final grades are posted for spring, since some students will still be taking some of their prerequisites in the spring. And then registration takes place in next June. The application right here is what our paper copy used to look like, but it is going to actually exist right now in a online format, a form that you'll fill out on our nursing admissions website. On the form, it'll say at the very top that it's going to ask you what program you're applying for. So either the RN or the LPN, as well as your preference. So if you have even a 0.1% chance of wanting to be an RN, we recommend that you mark RN as your preference first, so that because there's no way to move on to RN if you did not preference it. I hope that makes sense, and we'll go over that once again later on. And does Missy or Ann, do you want to cover anything about why someone would choose one or the other? And once again, this is kind of something that why we recommend you speak with counselors.
Okay, I didn't know if Ann was going to say something or not. So honestly, I don't know why we do it this way, but we do. So you can apply for both programs. Points to get into the RN are usually higher. then the LPN. So once people apply and they add up all the points, we rank everybody and they take the top 60 and invite them into the RN program, and then the next 20 for the LPN. So if you apply for both, then you could potentially get into RN or LPN, but your preference, I would definitely put your preference as RN for some reason. And you might know this better than I'm sure you do know this better than I do. But if you put LPN as your preference, but you have enough points to get into RN, they're going to put you in LPN. So if you have questions on it, let us know. But I would apply for both and put your preference as RN.
Okay, so we'll move next to the documents that will have to be submitted. And these have to be received by the admissions office prior to the posted deadline, which we had mentioned. So it's proof of residency. We do have preference towards students who live and reside in our district. Your official high school transcripts or your official GED and HSE scores. If you've attended school at any other college or university, anything after high school, then we're going to need your transcripts as well. Your placement test completion or your ACT or SAT scores if eligible, because those help us determine placement in certain classes if you need them, and as well as your certified nurse's aid, the proof of certification, whether you completed it here or elsewhere. Those are going to be required. And there's other notes too in regards to if you have the certification and you're still on the registry, but you haven't been working. Let me see the number of hours. Sorry, it's 1,020 hours over the last 3 years. You'll have to have proof of that. And so moving on to next slide. Proof of residency. So these are the different documentations that are you have the option to provide as proof of your residency. Once again, you don't have to take notes on all this because we're going to send you all this information. And if you're not a resident of IVCC's district, but you have questions about how that affects your admissibility, please contact our Director of Admissions, Tom Quigley, and he can discuss options with you. With placement requirements, Missy, did you want to cover these? I know you're a lot more well-versed than I.
Well, I've done it a few times, but yeah. So everyone that wants into the nursing program has to take our placement test, or we have to have information to be able to see where you place. And like Gracelyn mentioned before, we can look at SAT subscores or ACT subscores. You don't have to have them, but we can look at those and we might be able to place you if they're high enough. To get into the nursing program, you do not have to be at college level math, but if you see on here, it says you must test into math 1206 or higher. So that's a tech math. So you have to be kind of past a basic algebra level or just about that to get in. So don't freak out if you see that you have to take a math placement. We just need to see where you are. And then for reading and English, in order to get in, you do have to be at college level in both reading and in English. So any questions on this, call the counseling center, and we can discuss whether or not you need placement testing, or if we can use some other criteria with which to place you. We can talk to you about that too. Any questions on that? Aces. Gracelyn, you're muted.
Thank you, Missy. So we're going to go over CNA completion. IVCC is unique from several other nursing programs in that we do require CNA completion for admissibility. and it must be completed by the spring semester prior to your first nursing course. So that would be this upcoming spring 2022. So proof of your current Illinois certification is required. As I mentioned earlier, if you were a CNA in the past, but have not worked 1,020 hours in the past 3 years, you'll have to go through the CNA refresher course. And that's more of a condensed version of the CNA course. So instead of 8 weeks, it runs about 3 weeks. And as I mentioned also, if you do have certification and you have been working full-time or at least 1,020 hours over the last 3 years, then that will suffice for the CNA completion portion of the admissibility in nursing admissions. If you have any questions, you'll want to look at the CNA registry website to see if you're on there. That's on the next slide. So it'll
There's a question.
Oh,
Sorry, there was a question. Can you be enrolled in the CNA for spring and be eligible? Yes, as long as you complete it by the end of the spring semester, you would still be eligible.
Thank you, Missy. I don't know why the question isn't popping up on here, but thank you for addressing that. So we do have a sample of what the healthcare worker registry looks like. The name has been blacked out, but you'll see that the work eligibility, it's eligible certification program. It'll say the date and the location, and also that your competency was completed and that you've met the competencies and passed the exam for the CNA course and certification.
I have a question. I was wondering, I'm an LPN already, and I have been for 12 years. I'm here to, just to get my RN. I have never been a CNA. I went right into an LPN program, became an LPN, and have moved up nicely through the ranks and up to director of nursing. I just need my RN now for my MDS certification. So do I need to do any of this?
And it looks like maybe, thank you.
So the best thing to do is to contact myself or Laura Hodgson, because if you're already an existing LPN, you would come out as in a different route into our program. You would not go through our admission process. You would be considered an advanced placement student.
Okay, and who do I contact? Because I just don't want to. I'm sorry.
You know what? I will put my email address in the chat. So you can contact me, and I'll also leave my office phone number as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for your question. We're going to move on to our next. Once again, CNA is just completion. We went over this. This will be included in the information that we email out at the end of this presentation, as well as the recording. So we're going to move on to how applicants are scored. Admissions criteria. So there are 3 different criteria that we'll be looking at in terms of scoring and ranking. The first is the completion points for the 5 core courses, which we'll go over after this. The grade points for those that you've earned for those 5 core courses, as well as weighted scores on the PreNursing Assessment. So that's your A2 or HESI. The scores are going to be totaled and ranked, and you can go to that nursing calculator. It can be a little bit misleading. So once again, talk to our director, Tom, or reach out to counseling, and we'll talk you through based on if you whether or not you've transferred in other some of the coursework or anything. You might have questions about that. So we just want to make sure that you have all the help that you need in terms of getting through the process and making sure that you have everything submitted. The 5 core courses we have are biology, so it's anatomy and physiology 1, anatomy and physiology 2, microbiology, intro to nutrition, and human growth and development. These must be taken prior to your entry to the program. And so these are all core courses that are used in your admissibility. and they must have been completed within the last 7 years. So for fall 2022 admission, these courses will have to have been completed in spring 2015 and onward. If you've taken these classes elsewhere, please make sure that you get your official transcripts in so that we can get them calculated properly. And as a note for all these completion points. So students are going to receive 4 points for completion of each of those 5 core courses. And so then completion and is a minimum grade of C or higher. And as I mentioned, they must be completed within the last 7 years. If you repeated the course, we will take the highest letter grade, and using these calculations, you can get a maximum of 20 points for your completion points for these courses. I'm going to check the chat for some questions. Okay, I think we got everything there. So the pre-nursing assessment, and I think that you probably would be the best to go over this information. So I'll let you take it away.
So the pre-nursing assessment exam, or we call it the A2 exam, will be administered in April. Our students sign up in the assessment center to take the exam. The exam is part of the admission formula. The exam is covering grammar, vocabulary, anatomy, math, and reading comprehension. I do want to mention that there is a study guide book in the bookstore that can help you prepare for this exam, because this is an important part of the admission formula. So you want to score as high as you can upon that.
So you do get a maximum of 24 points on this weighted exam. And thank you, Anne, for letting us know about the study guide. I didn't know that, so I'm learning new things and to help students along the way as well. The total scoring is 72.8 points. That's including the HESI exam, the completion points that you'll receive for completing those 5 core courses, as well as calculation of the grades that you have earned in those 5 courses. The score thresholds do change from year to year in terms of who is admitted. There's basically a score cutoff of they have everyone who's applied to the program by their scores. The first 60 are accepted as RNs, and the next 20 will be LPNs. All three scores are added in that calculation. And once we inform you of your acceptance to the program, you do have 2 weeks to confirm acceptance. On the standby list, if you're not on the top 80, you will be on the standby list. If the opening occurs in the program, there's typically not a lot of movement, but the next student on the list will be offered admission based on their standby number. If you apply for both the RN and the LPN programs and you're admitted to the program that's not your preference, you will be placed on the standby list for your preferred program. So that's why we've encouraged you to rank your preferred program with, make sure that you add RN on there and LPN as well. And the standby lists do not carry over from year to year. So if you are not admitted and you are on the standby list, and you were not admitted through the standby list, you'll have to reapply next year and the process starts again. Missy, did you want to go over this additional coursework?
I sure do. All right, so the nursing program obviously consists of nursing classes, but there are some other required courses that you would have to complete as well. And Gracelyn went through the core classes, so your anatomies and micro and nutrition, that kind of thing. But there are also some other general education classes that, if possible, you can do before you get into the program. Technically, you do not have to. But we do recommend that you do get them done beforehand, because once you're in the nursing program, you are going to be eating, sleeping, living, nursing, and clinicals and studying and all that stuff. So the last thing you want to do is write an English paper, I would think anyway. So the classes that we also encourage students to plug in prior to getting into the program are your English 1001 and Psych. And that's required for both programs. But if you're doing RN, then you also need English 1002, which those are freshman composition classes, and an intro to sociology class. You have to have at least a C. You want to shoot higher than that, of course, but that's the minimum that you have to have. And if you don't get them done prior, that's okay, but you have to have them done before you graduate, or you can't sit for your NCLEX, which is your licensure exam to become a nurse. So it's, like I said, it's a good idea if you can plug them in ahead of time. And when we work with students, we discuss that with you and try to see what strategy we should use to get you your classes in a timely manner. Any questions on these? Okay.
Missy, since you're going on the
This is
academic,
me too. Okay, so this is a sample timeline for the nursing program. So I think I'm not going to go through every class here, but what it's important to know is that when you first come to us, if you don't have any coursework and you're just starting, you can't walk right into the nursing program. It is about getting the points you need to get in and getting your CNA and all that kind of stuff in order. So it could take a year, it could take 2 years to get into the nursing program. Once you're in it, the LPNs go the first year, or the LPNs and RNs go to the first year together, same classes. The LPNs then pop into a summer class after that, and they get their certification and their licensure, not certification. And then the RNs continue on for a second year of nursing. How fast you get in, that's what we sit and we talk to you about. Sometimes it's like, okay, if you're in a hurry to get in, what can we cram in order to get you all the points we can get you? Other people choose to take it more slowly. So I can't stress it enough, and it's not just job security, but you really, really want to come and work with one of us in the counseling center, because not all of those classes are offered every semester. So for instance, the Anatomy and Physiology 1 class, that's a prerequisite for the Anatomy and Physiology 2, go figure, and the microbiology. Anatomy and Physiology 1 is only offered in the summer and fall. So if you don't hit it, you got to wait till the next summer or fall to take it. Anatomy and Physiology 2 is a spring only class. So you don't have to remember all this. That's what we're here for. But it is important to touch base with us. Even if you like to schedule your own classes, that's great. Run it by one of us just to make sure you're on track. Okay.
if in doubt, ask a counselor or contact, once again, our director, Tom Quigley, and we'll get your questions answered. I think we're gonna be hearing from Ann next on the health requirements and immunizations required.
Okay, so our health requirements. So these are our requirements that have been set up by our clinical agencies. Therefore, this is what we require. So the students need to have a physical exam. We also require a 10-panel drug screening with a background check. If you've had that done for CNA before, even through our CNA program at IVCC, this is a different drug screening and background check that we do. It's a little bit more intense. So therefore, you do need to have those again. Students also need to have an updated CPR for the professional and a TB skin test. Not time specified because many of these are childhood immunizations, MMR, Tdap, hepatitis B, and varicella. So you can go back and get those from your physician or maybe your baby book when you were a child. There are options for students to get titers if they don't have the documentation of the immunization, but we kind of really encourage students to Try to go back and get the records from those immunizations that they do have, and shop around. Do you want to get a titer, or if you don't have the immunization documentation, or do you want to get the immunization again? Many of our students do go to the local health departments. I do want to mention about the COVID vaccine. So this fall semester, probably within a month of starting the program, our clinical agencies did require the COVID vaccine. There is an option that students can write in exemptions for religious or medical purposes. Those exemptions are sent to those our clinical agencies, and they are the ones who determine if they're granted or not. I don't know anything about, we haven't heard anything about the booster, but I'm just kind of assuming next year it'll be a requirement. The students will be required to get the COVID vaccine or submit an exemption.
Thank you, Anne. We do have a question in the chat. After 3 years, assuming the student gets into the program and wants to transfer for a bachelor's, does that take another 2 years? So RN and bachelor's in 5 years?
Good question. So there are a whole lot of programs out there, RN to BSN programs or bridge programs. And if you complete our RN program, then if you finish off basically our gen ed requirements for like an associate in science degree, you can participate in one of these RN to BSN or these bridge programs. So usually I want to say it's around 7 classes you'd have on top of the nursing to complete an associate's degree. And then most of these programs are online and they're all over the country. You can shop around and they are competing for students. So some of them are like, hey, we don't require chemistry, come to our school. So they are trying to do what they can to get students. I know like locally ISU has a program. It's 30 credit hours online. So you could be working as an RN because you have your RN and take online classes to complete the bachelor's requirements because you'll have all your clinicals you're getting done with us. So you're doing like theory and management type classes online to finish up that BSN. So you don't have to do more nursing classes, more clinicals to get that. So it won't necessarily be 2 years, depending upon how many classes you take. And different schools offer things in different formats. You may be able to do like a class every 8 weeks or, however they have it structured. So hopefully that answers your question.
I have a few things to say about that. So many of our students do go on to get BSNs. It's quite common that they do. Most of them, like Missy said, do take online. So they're usually working full-time as an RN, getting that RN wage, and then doing their other BSN coursework on the side. A lot of our students usually take less than a year to get their BSN. And many of them don't even stay within the state. There's some neighboring states that have quite reasonable program cost to complete BSNs. Now, I do want to mention that the BSN is not required to work as an RN in the clinical setting. There's a common misperception about that. Some of our clinical agencies in our area do require BSNs. But usually you know that and you sign an agreement upon accepting a position that you have 3 or 5 years to complete your BSN. But there are many of our clinical agencies that do not require BSNs.
And we've got another question in the chat. Oh, thank you, Katie. I'm glad that it was helpful. Next is nursing program costs. I know this refers to your folder, but we'll be emailing the information to you. We also have foundation scholarships. So that opens, the IVCC foundation scholarships are offered through our foundation, and they're opening, the scholarship application opens up on December 10th. So just 9 days away. And we actually have a scholarship workshop on the 11th that can help, will be helping you walk through that. There are a lot of scholarships that are available for nursing students specifically. I believe there was a few more that were added this year. So please, keep in mind that those are available as well, and file your FAFSA, and that's required for your scholarship application. And if you have any questions or need any assistance with that, please reach out to our financial aid office. And finally, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can email nursing@ivcc.edu for any nursing questions, counseling@ivcc.edu for any counseling questions, and our director, Tom Quigley, for any admissions questions. You can also text or call us at 815-224-0439. That's our main admissions line. So call us, someone will pick up. If you text it, chances are I'll be the one texting you back. So helping you research the information and everything. And do we have any other questions today? Whether in the chat or if you want to just unmute yourself and ask, we'd love to hear from you. Well, you can text us or you can call us. And Ann and Missy, was there anything else you'd like to add?
We are still registering for spring classes, and we will we'll be registering for classes up until they meet. They start January 10th. We do have brand spanking new, hot off the press. We have some intersession classes, we're calling them, and those are going to be really quick little classes that fall between the spring and the fall semester. So I think they start the end of December and go through early January. So if you are wanting to get started, it is not too late. Call the counseling center and we can get you going. Or if you have any questions, call the counseling center.
Thank you for those reminders about those intersession classes, Missy. Those are really popular in that we've had a lot of outside interest from people wanting this to happen. So we're excited to see how they run this year. We have 2 questions in the chat. Is there any way to get this PowerPoint emailed to us? Yes, we will email it as well as the recording for this. And Amber asks, how are clinical sites decided?
So as far as our clinical sites, we mainly go to our hospitals. They're all in our district. So OSF, St. Elizabeth's in Ottawa, St. Clair, and I can't remember the one in Mendota. Oh wait, no, it's the one in Princeton, the Princeton Hospital that just went to OSF. And then St. Margaret's in Spring Valley and Peru. Those are our main clinical sites that we use. As far as how do the students decide what clinical sites they have, we have what's called a lottery. So students are basically put in a lottery, and we have the courses, and it's basically from 1 to 80. The students are ranked, and we put them into time slots for the admissions, and we usually take like the first 12 students at the top of the list, and those get the choices for registration. And then once they've registered, the next 12 are entered in and allowed to register. So students have their own choices of which clinical sites they prefer to go to.
Thank you, Anne.
Oh, the grading scale. There's a question about the grading scale. So our grading scale is different compared to the college. So, and I'm trying to remember from memory, it's like 93 to 100 is an A, 86, I think, to 92 is a B. A C is 80 to 85. So all of our NUR-based courses, we do require the students to get at least and 80% for passing. So needing a C.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So otherwise, I do want to share, I have a special interest in our nursing students. Both my sister and her husband were nursing students that went in non-traditionally after pursuing other career paths. So it's possible, and we want you to know that you have all the support and assistance that you'd need here at IVCC. Just please reach out. Oh, we have another question. Will there be another info session in the spring? I don't think we have our schedule or have them scheduled out, but we typically do have more info sessions. So just keep checking our nursing admissions website, which we'll send out to you, and I'll type in right now as well in the chat. And that is the best place to check out any updates. If you have any questions, all this information will be on there, as well as our contact information. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope that you got your questions answered, and if not, once again, reach out to us and have a great night. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.